walk through an example for you of how your crop insurance works in regards to a short crop scenario and buying out of a contract. There's going to be a lot of assumptions here. The goal isn't to focus on the assumptions. The goal is to focus on the thought process and the math and how everything works. Oftentimes you hear people throw out, you can sell up to your crop insurance guarantee. You're safe selling up to your crop insurance guarantee. And let's just take an objective look at that and walk through the math behind a scenario and point out a couple risk factors that you'll want to consider when it comes to forward contracting and using crop insurance as a safety net given the uncertain, there's always going to be uncertain yield prospects when forward contracting a crop that's still growing in the field. So for this example, I'm going to use a very relevant crop that's been in the news recently, and that is spring wheat. The spring wheat market is in the midst, as we sit here in July 2017, of a rally due to the driest conditions in the Dakotas since 1988. Obviously, that can't be predicted. Case in point, there were most forecasts that I saw this winter were for cooler and wetter risks for the northern plains. That obviously didn't come to fruition. Think about 2012. That didn't exactly make an announcement 6 months ahead of time, even though with the benefit of hindsight, it looked crystal clear and very obvious that things were getting dry and we had the potential for a drought. But what I like to say is the rear view mirror is 100 times more clear than the windshield when it comes to commodity markets, weather, and everything that basically bakes into what the price of a commodity is. So we're going to walk through an example of a spring wheat farm today getting completely, seeing a terrible crop and just the math behind the crop insurance situation. So we're going to start out making some assumptions here. We're going to say that it's a 2,000 acre operation with an APH of 45 bushels. So that would give us a production. We're going to say our APH matches up with our estimated yield. That obviously isn't the case. There's a little bit of a difference there, but for simplification, we are going to say that. Then I'm basically going to back into a cost per acre, and I'm going to say that our cost per bushel on our wheat is $5.50. I think this is on the low end of the range, but I'm just going to use that. And if my math is right, well, you don't have to do the math, but I think it's about $247.50, I believe, to get to our per acre cost. That is correct. So now our next step is to calculate our revenue guarantee. So our 45 bushel APH, we're going to use a coverage level of 80%. Projected price from the RMA, which is set the average price over the month of February, is $5.65. So our revenue guarantee, we just take these numbers times each other. So 45 times 80 times 565 gives us $203.40 as our revenue guarantee. Let's assume here, and once again, these are just all assumptions, but let's assume that this farmer forward sells 40,000 bushels of crop at an average futures price. Let's say they sold 20,000 at $625 and 20,000 at $725. So we're just going to use a $675 futures price as an average. So, and then we're going to say our actual yield come this fall is 10 bushels per acre. Our harvest price is $9 a bushel. So now we need to recalculate our revenue guarantee. We are assuming this producer has not selected the harvest price exclusion. If you're going to be forward contracting, you need to have that harvest price embedded in your revenue protection crop insurance. So our APH is 45 bushels. Our coverage level, once again, is 80%. But now we include our harvest price. So our harvest price is $9 a bushel. So our new revenue guarantee should be, if my math is working right in my head, should be about $325. We'll see how close I can get. $324. So now we need to calculate what our bottom line is here. So our new revenue guarantee is this $324. Our actual revenue equals the 10 bushel yield times the $9 harvest price. So that's 90. So yeah, actual revenue is $90. Our indemnity payment is going to be $234 per acre. We do have some of this crop sold. We're just going to assume that it's a 25 under basis. So we're going to add plus crop revenue. So we produced 10 bushels, that's all sold. So we're going to take 10 bushels times our futures price. I got to put that in parentheses. Our futures price minus 25 cents for basis. So that gives us $65 an acre in revenue, less our contract buyout. So we have 20,000 bushels per acre. So of a buyout, because we have an actual yield of 20,000 bushels, we have 40,000 forward sold. So we're going to take 40,000 minus our actual yield times our acres. So there's our 20,000. We are going to take our harvest price. We're going to take that times our harvest price minus our average sold futures price. We're going to add 10 cents a bushel to that for a buyout fee, which is unfortunately the case. And the other thing to note here is we're going to assume we didn't set our basis pre-harvest, so it's just a difference in the futures price. The other big important differential here is we won't know that harvest price until the end of August. So hypothetically, what would happen here is a producer would want to say, almost maybe even every day, if you knew your yield was going to come in 20,000 bushels short and you had it all harvested by August 1st, which is when this is set, you could set it 1,000 bushels per day. I doubt they would let you do that because they trades in 5,000 bushel increments. So you might have to buy out of 5,000 bushels of your contract, say once a week for every week of the crop insurance harvest pricing period, given that it's an average price. So but that's a little bit of a story for another day. So our contract buyout is $47,000. And now we're going to normalize that via our acreage. So we're just going to take it divided by our 2,000 acres. And so it's $23.50. So to get to our net revenue per acre, we have 234 plus 65 minus 23.50. So we have $275 an acre. So our profit, actually it's not always going to be a profit. Profit loss equals the revenue minus our expenses. So $28. So even with that contract buyout, we are still making a small profit, and that is really due to the just the amount of the rally. So I'm gonna link this up to our harvest price, and I'm going to actually just note that these are some key variables here. So $9 is key. Our bushel sold is key. Our average futures price is a key piece of data. And so if you change any of these, so our harvest price goes to 8, our profitability goes down. The higher the harvest price, the better. Even with the buyout. So we'll go back to 9. If we go to our bushels, if we sold 50,000, the more bushels you sell, the lower price. But the big one, the important one, is the average futures price in relation to our cost of production. So if we change this to 550, you can tell things really change. So 550, and let's say we cap out at like a $7 harvest price. As you can see, that's the recipe for producing a loss on this farm. Would be to contract at a break even, or a break even type price. The key for all of this math to work is to be selling at a profit. If you sell at a profit, it really minimizes the downside in a scenario like this. Obviously, that is much easier said than done. Sometimes we're just protecting our break even. Sometimes we're not given big profitable opportunities, but all in all, the key number here is the price at which you sell in regards to your break even. So oftentimes I will say you need to be a lean, mean, efficient farm. This is where it really comes into play. If you have a high cost of production relative to the market, relative to your peers, on a per unit produced basis, this math isn't going to work for you. I know for a fact there are some farms where this is closer to 650 or maybe even 750. That's where things get ugly. You obviously you need to sell $8 futures price, have a $10 harvest price, and you're just not going to get. Obviously, it's going to be ugly if you have a 750 cost of production, and because we haven't seen pricing opportunities like that. But if you are selling at a profit, that's really what matters here. Selling at a projected profit using your APH, the math tends to work out okay. Do we ever want to buy out of a contract? No. We would like this to be zero in every single crop year. Every year. We'd love that for that to be zero. But part of what we're trying to do in managing risk is to reduce the financial roller coaster that commodity business tend to go on. And so we reduce the troughs, and because of that, the cost of that is reducing the peak levels of profitability and smoothing out that financial roller coaster is the goal with this. And I tend to really favor splitting up our sales, and not only You're not just shooting for that seasonally opportune window after harvest, during the growing season the next summer, but using a few different of those seasonally opportune time periods to make your sales. And one of them is pre-harvest. And with that comes yield uncertainty and the potential risks of selling more than you produce. But as long as your costs are in line relative to the price you were selling, the math works out. With the benefit of hindsight, and if we had perfect control of all of our variables, we would be a low-cost farm. We would always sell for a profit. We would always have decent crops, but that's not the case. We have, our cost of production goes through hiccups. Sometimes we have more expenses than what we would like, but just knowing over time, if you're selling at a price that is above your break even using your APH, one of the key arguments you get is, I don't know what my break even is until the crop is produced. As we're seeing here, we're using our APH as a guide for our break even. And that's a story for another day as well. High APH really, really, really reduces the risk in a farming enterprise. So all in all, I just wanted to give you an objective look at buying out of contracts in a short crop scenario, with the understanding that if the world was perfect, we would never have to buy out of a contract. If we're going to make the choice to sell during a couple seasonally opportune periods, and one of them includes harvest, we inevitably face that risk. And if we just need to understand what our cost of production is using our APH and try to target sales above that, obviously that is common sense. But that's the key variable in all of this math is your break even. Got a little long-winded today. It's a confusing topic. There's a ton of different moving parts, but just wanted to give you an objective look at it. Have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you.